So it's related to check. First of all, check is defined under which section, which act? It is defined under Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. It is defined under what act? It is defined under the Negotiable Instrument Act, and it is defined under section 6 over there. It is quite important to learn some of the sections related to the Negotiable Instrument Act. Okay, and you must be remembering those sections too. Now just let me know that check is defined under section 6, and what are the different parties involved over there. So first of all, we are having the drawer of the check over there, who is maintaining an account with the bank itself. That is a drawer of the check now. Let us take the case that the person A over here is maintaining a saving fund account with your bank. So I'm writing BOM over here. Okay, so now he's maintaining a saving fund account with your bank. So he was issued a checkbook over there, and he has drawn a check. So he's a drawer of the instrument. So he is a drawer of the instrument, and the check is drawn also always on bank itself. It always is drawn on the bank itself. So drawee in this case, so in the case of the check, the drawee will always be a bank. So in the case of the check, the drawee will always be a bank. Is that clear? Further, there will be a name of person that will be mentioned on the instrument itself. That will be either himself itself, or it could be a case, it could be a third party too. That it could be a third party too. That can be a pay. That is said to be what? That is said to be the pay itself. Is that clear? So that is related to what? That is related to check. So what is the definition given over there? It is said a check is a bill of exchange. Now, we have already covered the topic related to bill of exchange when we were covering related to letter of credit. Now, in case of bill of exchange, let me give an example with that case. So it was related to that person A sold goods to person B. We are covering right now related to bill of exchange, and we'll be covering that how bill of exchange is related to check over there. Okay. So person A sold goods to person B, and person B is basically not known to person A over here, and a credit period is to be given. In that case, person A will be drawing bill of exchange. So he will be the drawer of the instrument. So who draws a bill of exchange? Who is the creditor? So in a general case, we can say the creditor draws the bill of exchange, and further he will be the drawer of the instrument, and there is an unconditional order. So what is bill of exchange actually? It is an unconditional order by the drawer of the instrument to the drawee itself, that the drawee is to pay the amount on some specified date, or on demand, or after some particular period. Okay, so this is the condition related to that the amount is to be paid, and it is an unconditional order. It is an unconditional order that the amount is to be paid by the drawee itself. That is a debtor. So B is the debtor over here. Debtor is a person who is to pay the amount back to the creditor over there, who has basically borrowed the amount. Is said to be the debtor over here. So A is the creditor, B is the debtor. Who will be drawing the bill of exchange? The creditor will be drawing the bill of exchange, and is said to be drawer of the instrument. And further, the person on whom the bill of exchange is drawn is said to be the drawee over here. Now the person is to accept the bill of exchange. Then only it will become effective. So person B is to accept the bill of exchange. Let me clear the data from here so that it would be clear so as to understand. Okay. So person B is to accept the bill of exchange. Okay. Now the bill of exchange is to be accepted by the person B, and he will become, or she will become, the acceptor of the bill of exchange. Okay. And further, there must be an unconditional order by the person A that after some particular period, or on some particular date, or on demand, the amount is to be paid to the person himself or to some third party. We name him as the payee over here. Is that clear? So that is related to what? That is related to bill of exchange. And same was a process related to check over there. So also in case of check, the person A who is having an account with the bank B over here, with the bank BCD over here, and further a check was drawn by person A on person B, but that is always payable on demand. But the check is payable always on demand. Is that clear? Now kindly please let me know, is a checkbook can be allowed to the minor? Kindly please do answer at the earliest. Can you issue a checkbook to the minor? Can you issue a checkbook in a minor account? Yes or no? You understood related to check over there, that what are the different parties related to check. Can we issue a checkbook to the minor over there? It's a simple and practical question. You must have faced this kind of situations over there. So if a minor visits you, he is maintaining an account with you, Would you be allowing a checkbook in the minor account? Yes, that can be allowed. Yes, that can be allowed. Checkbooks can be issued to the minor, but the banks must be taking some precautions that each and every leaf must be printed with the minor account. It must be printed with the minor account, because in case some basically person takes a check from the minor because binds all the parties except himself. You must be remembering one thing: each and every contract with the minor is void ab initio. So minor is what? Minor is a risk factor. Minor is what? Minor is a risk factor. And for the each and every each and every contract with the minor is void ab initio. Okay. So if you are associated with the minor, you are in contract with the minor. If you are under with the contract with the minor, in that case, the contract is void ab initio, that it is not valid at all. It is not valid at all. But let me tell you that as per the section 26 of the NI Act, as per what section? As per section 26 of the NI Act, the minor is allowed that he can draw a check, he can be drawing, he can draw a check, he can endorse the check. Okay. So that is allowed. And also RBI has allowed that a saving fund account can be maintained, can be opened in the name of the minor itself. So a checkbook can be issued, but each and every leaf must be printed with the minor account. It must be printed with the minor account, or it must be mentioned on the check leaf itself that it's a minor account. So let us take the case that the person A has sold the goods to B over here, who is a minor, over here, and person B draws a check and give it to person A over here. Person A went to the bank and the check was presented and it was dishonored. Can person sue the person B over here? Can the person B, A over here, can sue the person B over here? Would it be allowed or not? Can the person A sue person B over here? No, he cannot do so. No, he cannot do so. Only and only exception in this particular case, it is related to if the goods related to the life of the minor are supplied. Only in that case, the contract is not voidable. Otherwise, each and every contract between the minor and the any other person is void ab initio. Otherwise, it is void ab initio. Is that clear? Okay. And what is the relationship between the banker and customer? What is the relationship between the banker and customer? If a check is basically, what would be the relationship between a banker and customer in the case of check? We need to tell what would be the relationship between a banker and customer in case of check. What would be the banker customer relationship? Kindly do answer at the earliest. It would be, the bank would be debtor or creditor. Kindly do answer wisely that the banker position would be debtor or creditor. The bank will be debtor. The bank will be the debtor. Very right. The bank will be debtor and the customer will be creditor. We are taking the general cases. In general, we are asking about. Okay. Otherwise, the relationship can be also the creditor debtor, because the amount is to be paid, why not? But otherwise, if the CC limit is sanctioned to person and the checkbook facility is allowed in that particular case, you may be saying that the relationship is a debtor credit, not debtor creditor, it is creditor debtor, but also the checkbook is allowed in that particular case. But because we are talking about the general scenarios only. Okay. Is that clear? After that, it is related to amount of check. It is related to the amount of check. So now there are two columns where you mention the amount. One, it is that you mention the amount in figures, and the other it is that you mention the amount in words. Okay. So if the amount in figures and words differ, the one in the words that will prevail and will be paid. If you have mentioned the amount 10,000 rupees and you inadvertently mentioned it to be rupees 1 lakh, an extra zero is there, and further in words you still manage to mention it rupees 10,000 only, then what amount will be paid? Rupees 10,000 is to be paid. Rupees 10,000 is to be paid. Okay. It is a common mistake that is done sometimes. Okay. So that is to be kept in mind. If the amount in words and amount in figures differ, the amount in words will be paid. Okay. And further, if only and only the amount in words is written, if only and only the amount in words is written, it is said to be what? It is said to be the incoherent instrument, that is the incomplete instrument, and it is defined under which section? It is defined under section 20. It is defined under section 20, that is the incoherent instrument. Is that clear? So if the amount in words only written, if the amount in words only written, or any of the details which were to be mentioned in the check are not mentioned, in that case it is said to be what? It is said to be the incoherent instrument, and it must be returned. Let us take the case that you received a check which is undated. You received a check which is undated over there. In that case, the check is to be returned, or you will accept that check. The check is to be returned, or you will accept that check. Kindly do answer at the earliest. If the undated check is received, in that case you will be accepting the check or will be returning it. Definitely we will be returning it. Okay, because that is basically amounting to what? That is amounting to the incoherent instrument, and that is to be returned. Okay, then it is related to bearer check and order check. So I'll just giving a practical view related to bearer check and order check. Okay, let us take the case that on the check itself, it is nothing is mentioned over there. So in normal cases, we have basically, there is mentioned bearer check, and further it is written /order. Okay, so that is the format now. Over here it is written pay, and then it is a space over there, then it is written bearer or order, then you need to write the in words amount and further in figures. So that is the case. So let us say the case neither bearer is mentioned or order is mentioned. In that case, it would be what check? It would be considered to be order check or bearer check. If nothing is mentioned on the check itself related to bearer check or order check, in that case it would be bearer check or order check. In that case, it will be considered to be order check. So Naina Mulevar and Neha Sharma have answered correctly over here that it will be considered to be a order check. Okay, but if bearer and order are mentioned, and but nothing is deleted, but none is deleted, in that case it will be considered to what check? The second question related to this particular part is that if bearer and order both are mentioned, and further none of these is deleted, in that case it will be considered to be bearer check or order check. It will considered to be bearer check in that particular case. If you have not deleted bearer or order, in that case it will be considered to be the bearer check itself. Now just let me tell you that what is the difference between the bearer check and order check, because sometimes we are not clear with the concept itself. So what is the difference between the bearer check and order check? In case of order check, the drawer has basically ordered so as to pay the amount that's mentioned in the check itself to the person named as payee over here. So if I mention that pay Munish, in that case, if I just deleted the bearer part and it is an order check, in that case the amount is to be paid to Manish only. Is that clear? In that case, it is to be satisfied that the payment is being made to Munish only. Okay, is that clear over here? So that is related to bearer or order check. Now let's move further. It is related to the, yes, very important point. Let us take the case. Let's take the case that if the check is drawn and for the name of the pay is mentioned in red ink. The date is mentioned with black ink. And signatures are there in blue ink. And different inks have been used. And it's different handwriting. Would you be honoring the check or will be returning the check? So if a check was presented, it was having different inks. And further the amount was in different ink, in different handwriting. The amount in figures was in different handwriting and different ink. Would you be returning the check or will be honoring the check? The check will be honored. Let me tell you guys, the check will be honored and has to be honored in that particular case, even if the check is drawn in different inks, different handwritings. Okay, you must be keeping in mind that check must be honored in that particular case too. Now, what if the check is drawn in pencil? Now, what if the check is drawn in pencil? Would you be honoring the check in that particular case or not? If the check is drawn with pencil, in that case, the check is to be honored or not. So if the check is drawn with pencil, in that case, the check is not to be honored and it must be returned. And it must be returned. So what we learned about so far? So we learned about the check. What is check? Where it is defined? What are the different parties associated with? We learned related to bill of exchange, the different parties associated with it. We learned related to what is bearer check and what is order check, and further related to the different writing part. Okay. Now let's continue. It says different type of dates in check. Different types of dates in check. So when the check is undated, that there is no check, no date mentioned over there, it is said to be inchoate instrument. Inchoate instrument is defined under section 20 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. Inchoate instrument is defined under section 20 of the Negotiable Instrument Act, and undated instrument is what? It is inchoate instrument and it must be returned by the bank. And further, checks bearing date on holiday. If the check is bearing some date on holiday, it must be paid or not? It must be paid or not? Definitely it must be paid. Okay. And further, checks bearing impossible date. Let us take the case that the check is bearing date 29th of February 2019, which is not existing at all. Which is not existing at all. In that case, the check will be paid on 28th of February. Is that clear? So let us take the case that any of your friends or business concern just give you a check which is pertaining to a date which is impossible, which is pertaining impossible, which is impossible date. In that case, that check is to be honored one day prior to that particular date or the possible date before that particular date. Let us take the case if 31st of the February is mentioned. In that case, the check will be paid either on 28th of February or 29th of the February as per the case there may be. Okay. And what do you mean by the antedated check? What do you mean by the antedated check? Let us take the case that why to take the case? We are considering it today is what? Today is 26th of December. And I just mentioned the check today and I just mentioned the date on the check today to be 1st of December. To be 1st of December. In that case, particularly, the validity of the check will be starting from what date? It will be starting from 1st of the December. It will be starting from the 1st of December, and further antedated checks are also valid checks. These are also valid checks. And what do you mean by stale check? Stale checks are those checks in which the validity of the check has been expired. In which the validity of the check has been expired. Such checks are said to be what? Such checks are said to be the stale instruments. And previously, the validity of the instrument was for 6 months. In the case of the check, the validity of the check was for 6 months, but it was reduced. It was reduced to 3 months by the Reserve Bank of India by using the powers which were basically conferred to the Reserve Bank of India as per Section 35A of the Banking Regulation Act. Okay. So as per the Section 35A of the Banking Regulation Act, Reserve Bank of India can give directions which are in public interest, in the depositor's interest, on the banker's policy interest. Okay. So in that case also, the banking ombudsman scheme is there, and for the KYC related guidance have also been directed in that particular section itself. And related to check related validity that has been reduced to 3 months now is as per the Section 35 of the Banking Regulation Act. Is that clear? Further, the stale check can be revalidated any number of times. It can be revalidated any number of times, and the validity of the revalidated check will be start from the date of revalidation. And PDC, you must be aware of. PDC is basically what? This is post-dated check. Where will be writing some future date. It will bear a future date, that a data late from the date which it is drawn. Okay. So and will be effective from the date mentioned therein. And it will be mentioned from the date mentioned therein. So that is related to the post-dated check, antedated check, undated check, and the checks having the impossible dates over there. Now there is a statutory obligation on the banks. There is a statutory obligation on the banks so as to honor the instrument, so as to honor the customer's check over there. It is a statutory obligation on the bank if the bank balance is clearly available, sufficient funds are available over there. If the funds are properly available, and further if the in that case the check must be honored if the funds are properly available, and further each and every if the payment is as per the tenor, as per the balances over there, in that case banks are having the statutory obligation so as to honor the customer check, and if bank fails to do so, in that case bank is to compensate the drawer. bank is to compensate the drawer. Let us take the case that the person A drawn a check amounting rupees 50,000, and further there is a balance of amounting rupees 60,000 in his account, and the check was presented, but the check was not paid, the check was not honored. In that case, the bank must be compensating the drawer. In that case, the bank must be compensating the drawer. Is that clear? And further, let me tell you, it may be the case that the funds are not properly available. In what cases the funds may not be properly available? Let us take the case that the attachment order has been received, or the garnish order has been received, or the funds are basically available as per the shadow balances there. Okay, or maybe the case now declaring balances have not been cleared yet, and the balances are not properly available. In that case, if the check is returned, then there will be no obligation on the bank. In that case, the bank will be having no obligation. But if the funds are properly available, but still if the bank has not honored the check, in that case the bank must be compensating the drawer. Okay. Further, it is related to protection to paying banker. Now let us understand the concept related to paying banker and collecting banker. Let us understand the concept related to paying banker and collecting banker. So person A over here is customer of ABC Bank, and he drawn a check amounting rupees 10,000 and give it to person C, who is the payee of the check. Person C is the payee of the check, and it's an account paycheck. Let us take the case that it's an account paycheck or cross check. It means what? That the check is not to be paid on counter. And it will be paid in the account of the person C only. Person C is not associated with bank ABC, and he basically presented the check through the XYZ bank. His bank is XYZ bank over here, and he presented the check through the XYZ bank over here. XYZ bank will be presenting the check over the clearing house, and further the check will be cleared, and the amount is to be paid. Now over here, let me know that XYZ bank is paying bank or collecting bank. XYZ bank is a paying bank or collecting bank? Kindly please do answer at the earliest. XYZ bank over here is the paying bank or collecting bank? XYZ is the collecting bank over here. Very right. XYZ is the collecting bank over here, and ABC bank would be the paying bank over there. ABC bank would be the paying bank over there. Is that clear? Over here? So XYZ bank is the collecting bank, and for the ABC bank is the paying bank over there, and C is the pay over there who has presented the check. XYZ will be collecting the payments on behalf of person C over here. Is that clear? Now XYZ bank is acting as what? It is acting as an agent. It is acting as an agent for the person C. Is that clear? So now let's try to have an idea related to protection to the paying banker. Protection available to the paying banker. First of all, it is related to protection is available to the paying banker in case of section 10, that is payment in due course. When it is said to be payment in due course? When the payment has been made in accordance with the apparent tenor of the instrument. That whatsoever was mentioned on the instrument itself, after going through all the rules, you have just looked into the instrument itself and further complied with those instructions and further have made the payment. If it's an account pay payment, in that case you have not paid the amount through the over the counter, you have paid the amount through the customer's account, so that all the formalities have been met with. That is said to be what? That is said to be in accordance with the apparent tenor of the instrument. And further, you have made the payment in good faith, without any negligence the payment has been made, and you have made the payment to the person who is having the possession of the instrument. You have made the payment to the person who is having the possession of the instrument. It may also be the clear case of the bearer check. Now, let us take the case that the bearer check, A is having a bearer check, and A went for the payment, over the counter, and the amount was paid by the bank to the A over here. Now this is what? This is the paying bank. This is the paying bank over there. Is that clear? So what are the conditions? First of all, the instrument must be in accordance with the apparent tenor of the instrument. The payment must be made in good faith without any negligence, and further to that person, only to that person who is having the possession of the instrument. And while making the payment, the bank must not have any of the reasons on the ground so as to believe that the person in possession of the instrument is not entitled to receive the payment. is not entitled to receive the payment. If such payment is made, in that case, it is said to be payment in due course, and paying bank gets the protection in that particular case. Is that clear? Further, the second, it is related to the section 85 of the negotiable instrument. Section 85 of the negotiable instrument. But before understanding this particular protection to the paying bank, we must be understanding related to the endorsement. What is endorsement? What is endorsement? Now let us take the case that we are having a bearer instrument. We are having a bearer instrument. Now, how this bearer instrument can be negotiated? How this bearer instrument can be negotiated? Kindly please let me know. Kindly do answer at the earliest how this bearer instrument can be negotiated. This can be negotiated by mere delivery. So for the negotiation of the bearer instrument, only and only delivery is required. Delivery of the instrument is required. Is that clear? Only and only delivery of the instrument is required. But if there is an order instrument, if there is an order instrument, I already told you, in case of order instrument, the person whose name is mentioned on the check itself, only to that person the payment is to be made. Only to that person the payment is to be made. But the order instrument is also negotiable. The order payment instrument is also negotiable, and in case you want to negotiate the order instrument, there are two conditions, those are to be satisfied. First of all, there must be delivery of the instrument. Delivery is also necessary, and further the second necessity is related to endorsement. It is related to endorsement. The check must be endorsed. So Monica has answered correctly over there in this case, that in case of order instrument, there must be delivery, and further the check must also be endorsed itself. Okay, and what do you mean by endorsed? So either on the face of the instrument or at the back of the instrument, you simply mention, let us take the case that the person A has drawn a check in the name of person C. In name of person C. So person C is a payee over here. An order check has been drawn. An order check has been drawn. Person C has basically negotiated this order instrument by endorsing it to person D. By endorsing it to person D. Now, person C will be writing on the back of the instrument like pay to D, and further will be signing over here. That would be related to what? That would be related to endorsement. Now the person C has endorsed the instrument to person D. Now person C is what? Person C is the endorser in this particular case. Person C is endorser in this particular case, and person D is the endorsee. And person D is the endorsee. Are you getting my point? So person C is the endorser and person D is the endorsee in this particular case. Okay. Now, for the paying bank itself, related to when the instrument has been endorsed many times, when the instrument has been endorsed in many times, let us take the case, person C endorsed it to person D to person E to person F, and person F to person G. This was endorsed many times. Okay, and further it was presented for the payment purposes, and the paying bank is having this instrument now. The paying bank is having this instrument now. The paying bank, I'm writing PB over here for the reference purposes, that is it is a paying bank. For the PB, that is a paying bank over here, the concern of the paying bank is related to the regularity of the endorsements. It is related to the regularity of the endorsement, that first of all person C has endorsed it to person D, then person D to person E, then person E to person F, and so on. Okay, it is basically concerned with the regularity of the instruments. I'm writing it over here. The paying bank over here is concerned related to the regularity of the instruments and not related to the genuinity of the instruments, and not related to the genuineness of the endorsements, and not related to genuineness of endorsement. It is only and only concerned to the regularity of the endorsements and not towards the genuineness of the endorsements. Genuineness of the endorsement is a concern of the collecting bank and not related to the paying bank, Is that clear? Okay, and further for that particular purpose, the protection is covered under section 85. The protection is there under the section 85. So section 85 of the NI Act 1881 grants protection to the paying bank on his making payment of a bearer check. Because in the case of bearer check, once a bearer is always a bearer. And further, when a check payable to order purports to be endorsed by or on behalf of the pay. So in case of bearer instrument, if the endorsement is there or not, if the regularity of the endorsement is there or not, even the paying bank is not concerned about the regularity of the endorsement in case of the bearer check. But if it is an order check, in that case, the regularity of the endorsement is an issue related with the paying bank, but not related to genuineness of the endorsement. Is that clear? Okay. Now it is said that how to check the authenticity of the endorser's signatures. So there is no actually authenticity is not to be checked. There are some formats related to it. Let us take the case that the instrument was drawn in the name of Ankur. Instrument was drawn in the name of the Ankur. Okay. Now Ankur wants to endorse it in the name of the Mohit. Ankur wants to endorse it in the name of the Mohit. Now Ankur will be signing like pay to pay to Mohit. He will be writing his name as such, pay to Mohit, and further will be writing as such. Now it is not the case that the only Ankur is to sign. Also, any other person can sign like A and K U R. If simply these words are written, it means the check has been endorsed. The check has been endorsed because there is no criteria related to authenticity of the checks. There is no criteria related to authenticity of the checks. It is the only criteria related to that the signatures must be there, that the signatures must be there. Okay, and the signatures must be mentioning the same spellings as per the check was it was mentioned in the name of the pay. Okay, the pay name was mentioned to be ANKURR. So in the endorsement over here also, the spellings must be ANKURR. Are you getting my point? So that is related to correctness, that is related to genuineness of the endorsements. Okay, and further let's move to the next uh, section over there, that is related to section 89. Section 89 of the NI Act, it basically provides protection to the paying bank again, that is related to when the payment of the instrument on which the alteration is not apparent. Let us take the case that there is an alteration on the instrument but it is not visible with the naked eyes. It is not visible to be visible with the naked eyes, but the check or the instrument is materially altered. In that case also the protection is available with the paying bank. Protection is available with the paying bank itself because the alteration was not visible with the naked eye. Okay. Further, it is related to liability of the paying banker when customers' signatures on the check is forged. Liability of the paying banker when the customer on the signature of the check is forged. Now just confirm me one thing. That if the signatures were forged, or let me give you a scenario. Let us say the case that person A and B are having a joint account. And further, the signature of person B were burnt. The signature of person B were forged, and the check was originally signed by person A. But the signatures of person B are forged, and this check was presented to the bank and was honored. In that case, the bank would be liable or not? The paying bank will be liable or not? Kindly please do answer at the earliest. So AB are maintaining a joint account. A is having original signatures, but B's signatures are forged. In that case, if the check is honored, in that case, the bank would be liable or not? Definitely, the bank will be liable. If any of the account operations, if any of the account holders signatures are forged and the operation is a joint operation, because there is no mandate by the customers now, because they were to sign jointly, and further person B's signatures are now forged. Now the bank would be having the liability related that the check is forged, and the bank is having no mandate so as to debit the account of the customer. So the bank would be liable. Okay. And further, it is related to section 128. Which says for cross check, if the payment is in due course, the paying bank gets protection. For the crossed check, if the payment is in due course, the paying bank gets protection. What does it indicate? It indicates that if the paying bank, basically account pay check was received or crossed check was received. Crossed check means what? If there is a transverse lines at the corner of the instrument itself. And further, that check is said to be what? That check is said to be crossed. It means what? It means that the check cannot be paid over the counter. And the payment can be made through the account holder's account only. Is that clear? So in that particular case, if the check has been paid, is a payment in due course and the payment has been made, the paying bank gets the protection. What does it indicate? Let us take the case that the person A drawn a check in the name of person Ankur, and further he basically lost the check. The check was lost and he forgot that so as to give the stop payment instructions related to it. And further, the check was found by some person and his name was also Ankur. Now his name was also Ankur and he presented the same check in his account. And he presented the same check in his account and the check was presented and was honored. And was honored. The balance was credited to the account of Ankur over here. The account balance was credited to the account of the Ankur over here, because this one is not the real Ankur. The real Ankur was someone else. But the payment is over here also credited to the Ankur account. Na? So the paying bank over here will be getting what? It will also be getting the protection over here in this particular case. Because the bank has basically made the payment in due course. The paying bank has made the payment in due course, and further the payment bank will be getting the protection in this case too. The payment bank will getting the protection in this case too. Is that clear? So then it is related to the protection for paying bank that we have already covered. The next point that we are going to cover, it is related to when bank should not be paying. When the bank should not be paying. So if the drawer, if there is death of drawer, in that case the amount is not to be paid. So let me give an example related to it. So let us take the case that the person A is here. Person A is here and he drawn a check dated 1st of December 2021. Dated 2021, on 1st of December he drawn a check, and further the check was given to person B. The check was given to person B. Later on, dated 7th of December 2021, he died. The person died dated 7th of December 2021, and the fact is in the knowledge of the bank itself. And the fact is in the knowledge of the bank itself, that is a paying bank itself, that ABC was maintaining account with the bank XYZ over here. And further, this fact is in the knowledge of the bank, that information is with the bank itself, that the person A is deceased. Okay. Now dated 10th of December 2021, the check was presented by person B. The check was presented by the person B. So bank XYZ should be paying the balances to the person B, yes or no? Because the check was drawn earlier, dated 1st of December 2021, and was given to person, handed over to person B, and the person A over here died dated 7th of December. Now in this particular case, the check was presented dated 10th of December 2021. Should the check be paid by the bank XYZ, yes or no? Kindly do answer at the earliest. Should the bank be paying the check to person B, yes or no? So let me tell you that if it is a personal account or a proprietor account or HF account, it is basically related to what? It's a natural person account. It's a natural person account. In that case, the check is not to be honored. The check is not to be honored because the banker-customer relationship ceases. Because the banker-customer relationship ceases. So the bank is now having no authority so as to debit the account for the payment of the instruments. The bank is having no authority so as to debit the account of the account holder itself, who is deceased now. So Neha Sharma, Sandeep, all have answered correctly over here. Related to the payment is not to be made to the person B. Not to be made to the person, payment to the person B over here. Now let's take the same case over here. Now there is a company XYZ and they are having the directors D1 and D2. Both are authorized so as to draw the instruments jointly and further jointly and severally. So person D2 over here has drawn an instrument dated 1st of December 2021, and on 7th of December 2021 the person D2 died. And on 10th of December 2021 the instrument was presented by the person. So on 10th of December 2021 the instrument was presented by the customer itself. Now in this case, the second case, can please do mention in 2 over here so as to answer the question. Now in this case, the check must be honored or not. If there was balance maintained in the account and each and every fact is already clear, in that case the check must be honored, yes or no? The check must be honored in this case. The check must be honored in this case, because in this case particularly, the company is having what? The company is having the perpetual succession. The company is having the perpetual succession. So the company processes or operations are not stopped even after the death of the director itself. Even after the death of the director itself, the amount must be paid. The amount must be paid, and the instrument must be honored. And the instrument must be honored. Is that clear? And further, and further, so here it has been asked that what exactly meant by bank is in the knowledge. So bank is basically having the information related to the death of the concerned account holder. So if the bank is not having the information related to the death of the account holder, in that case, definitely the check will be honored. Otherwise, if it is in the if it is in the knowledge of the bank itself, in that case, the account must be freezed and operations must not be allowed. And the operations must not be allowed. It should not be the case. Let us take the case, same case, that the person A is maintaining 1 crore rupees in his account, and further, person A has drawn an instrument dated 1st of December 2021 and gave it to person B over here, died on 7th of December 2021. Now, if the bank is having no information related to the person A is a diseased or not, in that case, if the check was presented, definitely the check will be cleared and will be honored. The check will be honored. But if it is in the knowledge of the bank, if it is in the information, if the bank is having the information related to the death of the person A, in that case, the bank must not be permitting the operations in the account of person A. Must not be permitting the operations in the account of person A. Is that clear? Okay. We must be having paper communication related to that. If that's a if the person is a renowned person and a public figure, in that case, based upon even on the news, we must be stop operation. We must be having the we must not be allowing the operations in the account. But in general case, if there is paper communication, that must be implemented. So these are the scenarios where the banker should not be paying. First of all, it is related to death of the drawer. Second, it is related to company in liquidation. If the company is in liquidation, in that case also, the balance lying with the bank vests with what? It is vesting with the official liquidator. Now let me tell you the scenario related to the liquidation of the company. Now let us take the case that the company is over there, and further, if it is liquidated, the assets of the companies are now lying with what? Lying with the official liquidator. The bank cannot basically debit the account of that company. And also in the case if the customer is insane, as the insanity terminates the contractual capacity, in that case also the bank should not be debiting the account. And if the customer is insolvent drawer, and if it is if the borrower is if the customer, not the borrower only, if the customer is insolvent, in that case also, and the customer is adjudicated by the law itself, if the order has already been passed by the court itself, in that case also, the bank cannot debit the account, because the balances of the account are now vested with the official receiver or assignee. So the bank is having no capacity so as to debit the account, and the balance must be have to stop the operations in the account itself in the case of the insolvent drawer too. And further, if the countermand or the stop payment instructions have been given by the customer itself, and these are the conditions where the payment should not be made. These are the situations where the payment should not be made. Is that clear? Then it is related to bill of exchange. I already told you that there are three parties in the case of the bill of exchange. One, it is a drawer, that is the creditor. Drawer is the debtor, and further the person to whom the payment is made. So bill of exchange is defined under what section? It is defined under section 5. Promissory note is basically unconditional promise so as to pay the amount. It is defined under section 4 of the NI Act. And bill of exchange is basically defined under section 5 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. Okay, and check is defined under what? Check is defined under section 6 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. Okay. Then it is related to the very important terms that you must be understanding, that is a holder and holder in due course. Let us understand these terms. So person A over here, let us say the case, has drawn an instrument, and further person B is the payee over here. person B is the payee over here, and further this was endorsed by person B in the name of person C, and person C in the name of person D. And in that particular case, person B is the payee, and when he was having, let us say, take the first scenario over here, where the person B is having the possession of the instrument. Now over here, person B is what? Person B is the holder in due course. Person B is the holder in due course. Now what is a holder in due course? What are the conditions for holder in due course? First of all, there the consideration is a necessity. Consideration is essential in this particular case. What is consideration? That let us take the case that the person B has sold the goods to person A and person A has handed over the instrument to person A. In that case, we will basically say it is a consideration. So there must be a legal consideration. There must be a legal consideration, and after that the actual possession of the instrument is required. And the third one, that the defective title will not be affect the holder in due course. That will be understanding it later stage. Okay, so now person B is having the possession of the instrument and the instrument was basically accepted for a consideration. Now person B is holder in due course. When the instrument is basically endorsed to person C over here, now person C is having the possession of the instrument, so person B is now not the holder in due course. Person B will be the holder and person C will be the holder in due course. Now person C will be the holder in due course. Now is that clear? Further, the instrument was endorsed by person C to person D. Now person C is not the holder in due course, and the person C will be the holder, and person D will be the holder in due course. Is that clear? Now let us take the case that the person D lost the instrument. Person D lost the instrument, and person F found the instrument. Person F found the instrument, and further he forged the instrument, forged the signatures, and further handed over the instrument to the person E for the legal consideration. Now there is a legal consideration between the person F and E, for which the instrument was endorsed in the name of person E. Okay, so person E is now what? Person E is now holder in due course. Person E is now holder in due course. Now let us understand the third point, that it will not affect the title of the instrument. Now what do you mean by title? Title means the ownership on the instrument. Title means what? Title means the ownership on the instrument. Now the person is having the ownership on the instrument itself. Okay, whether the instrument was forged and further it was found by person F and further given to person E, because the person E has accepted the instrument in good faith, and further there was no ground that the instrument was forged. It was not in the knowledge of person E, and he accepted the instrument for a legal consideration too. He accepted the instrument for the legal consideration too. So person E is over here the holder in due course. Is a holder in due course. Now what are the rights of the holder? Holder and holder in due course are basically, holder in due course can get a duplicate instrument. So if the instrument is lost or if the instrument is torn, in that case the holder in due course can get a duplicate instrument. Now let us take the case that the instrument was presented by person E. Person E presented the instrument and further it was dishonored. And further it was dishonored. Now in this particular case, E can file cases on whom? E can sue which persons over here? E can sue which persons over here? As per the scenario, A basically is the drawer of the instrument and further issued it in the name of person B and further endorsed to person C, person D, and D lost the instrument, F found the instrument, forged the instrument itself and further gave it to person E. E presented the instrument and further now it is a dishonored. E can basically get the recoveries from whom? E can file the cases in the name of person F over here. That is, what does it mean? That it does not affect the title of the instrument. It does not affect the title of the instrument if you are holder in due course. You are holder in due course. Is that clear? Okay, so person E can now sue person F over here. Now let's consider up to this chain only, up to D person only. In that particular case, if the instrument was presented, and further it was dishonored, person D can sue which parties over here? Person D can sue which parties over here? Person D can file a case against person C, person B, as well as person A. Okay, so D can sue all the prior parties, and holder is basically liable to all the subsequent endorsees. It is all the subsequent endorsees. So if B endorsed the instrument, B is also liable to person C, also liable to person D. Is that clear? Is that particular part clear over here? And now let us take another example where person A endorsed the instrument to person B, and person B to person C. Person C is minor. Person C to person D, and person D to person E. And E basically presented the instrument and it was dishonored. Now E can file cases on which parties? E can file cases on which parties? Kindly please do answer at the earliest. I want you all to participate. E can file cases on which parties? He can file cases on person D, person B, and person A. Person D, person B, and person A, but not on person C. Why? Because person C is a minor. Minor can bind all the parties but not himself. Minor can bind all the parties but not himself. And also, if there is a case related to cens recourse endorsement, it is quite important. If the endorsement is made as cens recourse endorsement, in that case also the endorser basically having the choice that he is basically relieving himself from the liability as a endorser liability. Okay, so in case that if the endorsement is made as cens recourse endorsement, that person will not be liable to the subsequent endorses. Okay, is that particular part clear over here? So that would be related to this particular session. That would be particular related to this particular session. Or we can continue for more 10 minutes over there. We can continue for more 10 minutes over there. So we'll be continuing with this topic of the endorsements itself. So we'll be continuing with the topic of endorsements itself. But before that, let me tell you that I have already explained that is related to negotiation and endorsement. That is related to negotiation and endorsement. So I already told you that in case of negotiation, negotiation means what? That we want to transfer the instrument from one person to another. We want to transfer the instrument from one person to another. So in case of the negotiation of the bearer instrument, only and only deliveries must be there. And further, if you want to endorse an order instrument, if you want to negotiate the endorsement instrument, in that case delivery as well as endorsement is required. Now what is endorsement? Endorsement is made for the purpose of negotiation of a negotiable instrument. Okay, that is called for the purpose of negotiation of negotiable instrument. And I already told you for the negotiation purposes, for the endorsement purposes, the instrument must be endorsed on the back of or the face of the instrument itself. Okay, so let us take the case that it's a bill of exchange. Now it can be endorsed by signing on the front of the instrument or on the back of the instrument. Now it means the case there is no number of the there is unlimited times the instrument can be endorsed. The instrument can be endorsed unlimited number of times. There is no limit related to it. So if there is no space related to it and an extra paper is attached to the instrument, so as for the endorsement purposes, that particular paper is called what? That is called the allonge. Okay. And further, the type of instruments which can be endorsed, that is check, bill of exchange, promissory note can be endorsed. And who can endorse? The maker of the instrument or the holder of the instrument can endorse the instrument. Maker of the instrument or holder of the instrument again endorse the instrument. And for the number of endorsements, if we look at, there can be any number of endorsements. There is no limit related to it. And can minors endorse the instrument? Definitely. I already told you that the minor can also endorse the instrument as per the section 26 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. As per the section 26 of the Negotiable Instrument Act, the minor can also endorse the instrument. And further, let us have a look at the financing of the bill. We will be covering it related to the. Okay, let us cover this question based upon it. So it says if a signature of a drawer are forged, on a check are similar to the signatures on record. So signatures which were forged, those were similar to that of the signatures on record. Now in that case, the bank cannot debit the account of the customer, and if account is debited, bank is liable. Second, it says the bank cannot debit the account, but if the forgery is in knowledge of the customer, bank is liable. The bank is liable for forgery even if the payment of the check has not been made. The bank is not liable if the forgery is done in convenience with the drawer. So which one would be the right answer? So which one would be the right answer over here? So option A over here will be the right answer, that the bank cannot debit the account because there is no mandate by the customer. If the signatures have been forged, whether those match with the signatures on your record or not, if the signatures have been forged, there is no mandate by the customer and the bank is not allowed to debit the account. So the bank will be liable. So the bank will be liable. So question number 1 over here, answer is option A, and SB has given the right answer further. And further related to second question, it says, if a bank refuses to make payment of check wrongfully, if a bank refuses to make the payment of a check wrongfully, the bank is liable to compensate whom in case be suffer loss. In case the loss be suffered, in that case the bank will be compensating whom? If the check has made the payment, has refused to make the payment wrongfully. Question number 2. Would it be holder, payee, endorser, endorsee or drawer? Would it be holder, payee, endorsee or drawer? Question number 2. Which one would be the right answer? So bank would be liable to the drawer only. The bank would be liable to the drawer only. So option D over here is the right answer. So Monica has answered the question at the earliest. So option D is the right answer. Option D over here is the right answer. Let's move to the third question. It says, Section 31 of the Negotiable Instrument Act, that is banker obligation to make the payment of the check, applies to customer only, bank and customer both, neither bank nor customer. Which one of the following would be the right answer? Which one of the following would be the right answer? Question number 3. Kindly also please mention the question number along with it. Question number 3, which one would be the right answer? So section 31 obligation is only and only for the bank itself. Option B over here is the right answer. Option B over here is the right answer. So question number 3, option B is the right answer, because the bank is having the obligation so as to comply with the instrument if the payment is to be, if the sufficient balance is available and balance is properly available. Option B over here is the right answer. Next question, it says, Section 10 of Negotiable Instrument Act deals with which of the following aspects? So Section 10 is basically related to which of the following? Obligation of the bank to make the payment of a check, payment in due course, protection to the paying bank for making payment of a bearer check, protection to the collecting bank for collecting of a check for customer purposes. So section 10 is associated with payment in due course. Section 10 is basically related with payment in due course. So option B over here is the right answer. Option B over here is the right answer. So Madhuri Patil has answered the question at the earliest. Next question, it says, and the last for today's session, it says, if the bank makes payment of a check disregarding crossing by the customer, the bank is liable to, true owner only, payee only, endorsee only, and the drawer only. If the bank makes a payment of a check disregarding the crossing by the drawer, the bank is liable to whom? In that particular case, the bank will be liable to whom? Question number 5. Which one would be the right answer? The bank would be liable to the true owner only. So option A over here is the right answer. Sandeep Sangale has answered the correctly at the earliest. So option A over here is the right answer. So that would be all related to this particular session. So if you want to join us, you can do visit our website iibf.info. If you want to join us, you can visit our website iibf.info, where you can get all the videos associated over there, and further the chapter wise previous questions, each and everything will be covered. And further, if you want to get the PDF of this particular session, all the 3 sessions, you need to WhatsApp us writing JAIIB and further mention BOM, that is Bank of Maharashtra, and WhatsApp it to the number 83609 and we will be sending you the link related to it and further all the details related to it. Okay. So if you have any suggestions or any feedback, kindly please do let me know. And that would be all related to this particular video. If you have any queries, any questions, you can do ask related to those. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.